Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. Where there are Sasquatch sightings, that's where we're gonna go. With so many chilling encounters just waiting to be retold. So join us here in the spooky woods for the Duke Chat Show. Well, welcome back, everybody. We're having nothing but technical problems here. This is about the umpteenth time we've tried to record this show. May or may not work. If it does, you get to hear this part. I'm really sick of technology. Quit changing everything every 5 minutes, you assholes. And with that, we're back. Steven hasn't been here for quite a while. You guys may remember him as multiple visits here. The Sulphur River Sasquatcher does a lot of research with William Lunsford, and also connected to the Cryptid Wilderness Research Team. As you can see, I'm wearing the shirt. He's got his on. We're both sporting it. We're showing our colors. We're continent-wide and now international, since Tom Coburn from Trails in the Woods has now become part of the team. So this is sort of a loose group of different, actually, field researchers that have their own channels and whatnot that all want to cooperate and work together. So I think it's really cool this is going on. Shout out to Daniel Becker at Cryptid Wilderness Research Podcast, who got all Steven here for quite a while. I was just watching William Lunsford on Spaced Out Radio last night. Shout out to William. He did great. It was always fun. And 2 hours slot there. Of course, William could do a six hours worth of conversation in 2 hours. So that always works out good when you have him on. He has the fastest mouth in the South. Yes. And had lots of great stories. And one of the things he brought up that we can probably start out with here is, well, do you want to do some of the animal shots, or where do you want to go first?
Yeah, it's we can start when recently Brandy and Krista, they had been to a conference in Texas, I believe, and they stopped by William's house. And so my wife and I met up with William and Brandy and Krista, and we went to the area that we call the Dark Woods. And that's one of those places where I've not laid eyes on the Bigfoot in that area. We've heard some of the craziest vocals I've ever heard anywhere. We've tree knocks during the day. I don't think we've ever gone in there and not got something, usually a tree knock or a vocal or something. There's always something. This last time we believe that we recorded a whoop, which I sent that to you in an email.
Yep. And let's play that up for everybody right now and let them check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're back. Wow, that was pretty hardcore.
Yeah. So that was really interesting. We were sitting around looking. We saw some of the slower moving stuff up in the sky. Went over. So.
Well, I know from what the girls were saying, they were pretty impressed by it. There was quite a bit of activity while they were there, and they got the whole spooky vibe and everything.
Oh yeah, there were several things that actually happened that night. It was we did get the whoop. I told where we went to that night. That's where I recorded some audio there a few years ago on a pipeline. And it was. I remember the first time my wife listened to it from the audio recorder. The hair stood up on her arm. It was something that just really, really gave her chills listening to it. of course, I mean, it wasn't all just Bigfoot, but there were some coyotes and stuff mixed in. But there's some vocals in it, that are definitely beyond the range of what a coyote can do. But back to that Sunday night when we met up with him, it was we'd heard the owl, had some owls going off. We also heard a crow that night, which is first time I believe I've ever heard a crow in the dark. Crow.
Suicidal crow.
Yeah, suicidal crow. We talked before. It may have been a 500-pound crow saying, "Hey, come at me."
Oh, in the normal course of events, crows don't make any noise at night because them and owls are arch enemies. And if they make noise at night, immediately an owl knows where they are and they're dead.
Yes, yeah. So, and that just didn't make sense. Of course, some of the owls that we heard, they were missing the trill at the end of the call. So that's usually something everybody's familiar with at this point, I believe, is that if they don't finish up with that trill, then more than likely it may just be something else mimicking an owl.
Right.
And the other thing, I believe you said to William, I hadn't had a chance to watch a show with Dave, but he was talking about the will of the wisp. And that was something I cannot remember if it was Brandy or Krista who first spotted it, but the place was covered up with lightning bugs, which is always a good sign because it's a healthy environment when they have a lot of them around. But
extremely, yeah. There has to be not much pollution in order for there to be fireflies there.
Right. So, but they got to seeing these red streaks going through the air, and these things were a lot lower. They were anywhere from 3 to 8 feet off the ground. And
wow.
So I don't know if that would be what people would call will o' the wisp, because they're moving so stinking fast that if you weren't looking in that direction, you wouldn't even see them. I don't think you could actually take a picture of one that was the way they were moving around. It was.
I know the will o' the wisp thing, as it is usually interpreted, was from the Northern Isles, and especially around the moors and stuff. And a lot of people would attribute it to, escape of gas lighting up, making swamp gas lights and stuff like that. But the will o' the wisp is more like you could mistake it for orbs, or you could mistake it for, cryptid eye shine or something.
Yeah.
But there's probably not going to be just two side by side. There'll be multiple ones. They might be dancing around and stuff. They're trying to get your attention. They want you to come visit, come play with us. We're going to lead you into a quicksand or off a cliff,
right,
or to the cave where there's a predator to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody would have to be able to move a lot faster than me to keep up with one. With what we
yeah, I don't know if that would qualify as what William was talking about. I would think that would be an orb or something, or
yeah, and they could have been. I mean, with the orbs, most of them that I've ever seen, they're white. And the interesting thing about an orb, from what I've seen, with the experience I've had in them, with them, is that they don't light up anything around it. Just like that light. All the light is just contained within that spear, or that ball that you're seeing. When the ones we've seen at Ground Zero, whenever they would fade out or whatever they would do, it seemed to have a blue tint to it. It would be white at the end. It would have a blue tint. So, but yeah, that stuff we saw down in the dark woods, that was a little bit different, and I don't really recall seeing it down there before. But I think. We kind of speculated that maybe we got in between maybe a little one and maybe an older one. So we think that could have been part of the reason why we recorded what we did. So that was but it's a fascinating place, and it's another one of those public areas that. But what's really crazy about that right there is whenever the everything kind of goes quiet up here in the Ground Zero area during the summer months, you can go down there in that place in August and September. It's rare if you meet another vehicle that time of year because it's so hot, and you can get activity. I mean, it's we've been in there before. I remember one night we were in there, and William had been doing some calls on his side of the truck, and I was on the other side of the truck. On that particular time, William did remember to bring a spotlight with him. I still didn't have enough sense to remember to bring a light of some sort with me. It was, but that's when I think that I was recording it, and unfortunately, my recorder did not pick up what we heard running through the water. We'd been there about 30 or 40 minutes. And William come around on my side of the truck. Whenever he did, when you're walking with a light, you know how it'll kind of, you won't stay in one spot. It's kind of shining through the woods. Whenever he come around, we could both hear something take off running out of the water because we were on a bridge and something took off running away from us. But I had told William earlier, I said, those tree knocks, we were hearing tree knocks. And I kept telling him, I said, those tree knocks are getting closer to us. And sure enough, whenever he come around, something took off out of the water. So I'm not sure if one was about to come up there and count coup on us or what might have been on that one's mind. But that was interesting.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be a little bit creepy. Yeah, I don't know if that was what William was referencing is when you were just down there recently with the gals. I don't think so. It didn't sound like it, but he didn't give any specific location, date, or any other more, pertinent data. Just like, yeah, we've seen orbs and we've seen eye shine, and then we saw this will-o'-the-wisp thing.
Right.
So I don't know which one he was referencing.
Yeah, it's with that eye shine, man. That's a crazy thing. I'm not necessarily convinced that it's eye shine. A reflection of the moon or something like that. That's I've seen it. I've seen it multiple times. Where you can see the eyes glowing even on a dark night where there's no moon up. So, and I know, was it Richard Soule? He's taken photos, and you've had some others.
Yeah, they've got an actual eye glow where it's lighting up. The best one they got, he was standing under a tree branch, and you could actually see the bottom of the tree branches lighting up from his eyes. So it's like there's light coming out of him,
Yeah. So that's that's another thing. I don't necessarily have. I don't have answers for it. I've seen it. If I've seen it, I'm not going to deny it and say that I haven't. So
strange but true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not our job to figure out what's doing all this and how it's happening. That's up to the scientists that aren't earning their paycheck or doing anything.
Right.
Our job is to go out and document what's happening. Mm-hmm. It's up to them to figure out what's causing it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It is. They're funded. We're not.
No. They should be, bowing down, kissing our feet, and thanking us that we're bothering to take all of our time and money to go out in the woods and find out this stuff that they, with their funding, could be doing if they were actually worth a damn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there are plenty of people in this field who could point them in the right direction so they could go experience it for themselves.
No shortage.
Yeah. There are a lot of people from coast to coast in different parts of the world as well. So it's.
Well, as Richard Soule once said when I put him on the spot and asked him about finding Bigfoot, there was a long pause, and he said, it's just not that hard.
Yeah. The short expeditions that you and your team went on last year, inevitably finding Bigfoot, it didn't take you. You weren't in what's necessarily thought of as sure enough Bigfoot territory. So
no, we're in suburbs of the capital of Lincoln, and 2 different locations along this one wetland area, and spent a total of 3 hours there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in the afternoon. You don't need any nighttime recon.
No.
Nighttime recon is just a cover up for, well, we're not going to find anything, but the footage will look spooky. And we go, hey, did you hear that?
Yep.
I heard a twig snap over there.
Yeah.
That was just a cameraman.
I tell you what, a tree snap, a limb that gets stepped on when you're by yourself at a few hours before daylight and Everything is quiet. You can't hear anything making any sound at all. And all of a sudden, a limb that might be on the ground gets stepped on and it breaks, and there's no other sound to go with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And counterintuitively enough, usually when it's something big sneaking around your camp, they make no noise at all. And whatever it is, it sounds like a tank coming through the woods. It's probably a squirrel.
Right. Yeah.
Like those evil black squirrels that you got down there where you live.
Yeah. 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 And you have I sent you a photo of that one. We have a couple of them in the yard. And I started putting corn out for them, before we still don't have an acorn crop yet. They're digging around in the yard every day. I'm not sure what to find them, but they're out there every day. So we started putting some corn out just to try to help them. And I don't know, they seem to be thriving really well on corn and whatever else they're finding in the yard. But what's funny is I'd only seen one in my entire life before these two showed up in the yard. And we have the two black ones, and we have one big brown one with a tan belly. And I don't have a picture of his belly, but maybe one of these days he'll be facing the right direction. I'll get a picture of him.
I'll take your word for it. He's got a tan belly. That's still, like not every place has black squirrels. I knew there was one place in Minnesota that had them, and it was a really small area, and that was the only place they lived in the whole state. And they look just like gray squirrels, except they're black.
Yeah. These right here, these are a little bit bigger than the gray squirrels. I think they're just a different form of what we call a fox squirrel.
Right.
They're a little bit bigger squirrel than
they got the big antenna ears.
I mean, that thing is jet black. So it's
It look like they're crossbreeds between squirrels and lynxes or something.
Yeah, squirrel and a lynx, a skunk. It's I showed a video of one of them. I recorded him there for about 60 seconds one day, and I showed it to a guy from Texas. And he was looking at it, and he thought he was thinking at first I was showing him a video of a skunk in my yard, until he finally moved and he was able to see. He's like, "Oh, that is a squirrel."
Yeah, it's one of those really weird squirrels we got living over here.
Yep.
Please send help.
Yeah.
Cryptid squirrels. Well, you also sent me a really cool picture of a tree structure, a teepee.
Yeah.
Where'd you find that?
That would be up there in the foothills of the Ouachitas here in Arkansas. And that's from where that's at. It's probably less than a 15-minute drive to be up in the hills. Where what we call mountains here in Arkansas. I know they do not compare to the mountains in western states and in eastern states or wherever else. Here in Arkansas we call them mountains because they're the tallest things we have.
Okay, so you have to compare them to something.
Yeah, we have to compare them to something. They don't have the height, but I guarantee you they're just as steep in places as it is anywhere else. I mean. But yeah, that's where that was at. I mean, it's behind a locked gate. So, and the grass in that picture that you can see behind that structure is a pipeline. So, to me, it never would make sense why, if it would have been a hunter, why they would have gone to all that trouble to make a blind in hopes that a deer might walk out there. Whenever you go to Walmart and buy a blind, or you go to some other store and buy one for $100 or something,
yeah,
and sit in it, why would you go to all that trouble?
Well, the other one you can always default to is, maybe it was kids making a makeshift fort or something, but that has to include that the kid might want to live somewhere near there, and if it's far out in the middle of nowhere, that's very unlikely.
Yeah, it's I don't know from where I found that. It's trying to think how many miles it would be to the closest house. It would have been, yeah. I mean, it's
how far did you say? Like 5 miles? That's a ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm sure they could have rode in, but it's I don't know. I don't know. That was one of those things I've always thought. Yeah, that probably could be something. I've heard about them before. I know you showed quite a few of them there on Sunday night in that show. I know other researchers in Oklahoma who have found similar things. A lot of people have run across those. You don't run across them every day, but
No.
but they're,
But generally, when we run across them, it's because it's an area that there's a lot of Bigfoot activity
yeah,
in, and that's why
yeah.
they're there.
And I mean, that's also in the same general area where I found a tiny asterisk. I mean, this thing, you could have picked it up and held it in your hands. That's how small it.
Wow.
So, and that's also in that area. That's the only place I've ever found a tree where the roots were up in the air.
Right. Upside down tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get pictures of either one of those things?
Uh, I know William's got a picture of that ash, and I know William's got a picture of that. I might have to get him to send it. And that upside down tree, man, where did I run across it? I saw it somewhere the other day. If I run across it again, I'll send it to you. I promise I will. It's the only time I ever found one. It was upside. But and also, yeah.
Miniatures the structures of any size are of interest, but when you have the colossally gigantic ones like I find up here, or the itty bitty teeny tiny ones, they're just as interesting. And that's like that fish drying shack that the one guy found on the tundra up there in Alaska, walking along endless miles of open tundra, and it's during the summer, so there's grass there, and here's this little fish hut about that tall.
Yep.
With little teeny fish fillets hanging inside of it in the middle of frickin' nowhere.
Yeah.
Who the hell made that?
Yeah. See, that reminds me of another time I was around Mena, which is really close to the national forest up there on the western Arkansas. And I was with a couple of the researchers on that, and we had found something really, really tiny, kind of like what you're describing. And we were looking at it, and I think that one researcher, took a picture of it. And it was, after we did that, well, that's when the lights went out. That's when the audio recorder stopped recording.
Oh.
So we decided we'd go ahead and walk back down the ridge.
Oh, good God.
In the dark. So...
Lordy.
When we got away from that area, the audio recorder came back on and the lights started working again.
Huh.
So...
Well, that's really mysterious. Mysteriously. Yeah, the people that are regular viewers of this channel have been getting that word gets thrown out here pretty often. Mysteriously.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that's done, but it does happen. That's something that's also really common that happens quite a bit. It's I guess I'm just telling stories, but it's another time I was up there with some researchers up there in that same area around Mena, and we were on an abandoned bridge, or a low water bridge. One researcher had walked off down the road by themselves, and I was on the bridge with another one. We were just standing around. We were having little bitty tiny stuff thrown our direction, just to try to get our attention. I'm sure you've experienced that before. It'd be like pea gravel or something that size.
Yeah.
And we did hear a tree knock, and man, the vibe that night, it was one of those that's kind of just give you chills. Just standing on a bridge, because I didn't want to turn my light on or anything. I had it in my pocket. I didn't want to turn it on.
Oh, jeez.
And while we were there, when the other researcher came back, and so we were all three standing on that low water slab in the road, and something came busting through the brush. I mean, this thing was making noise like you wouldn't believe. I was thinking this is either going to be a Bigfoot or this is going to be a really big black bear, a really big hog come running through the woods.
Right.
And the strange part is, when it should have hit the road, I turned my light on, and we didn't see anything, dude.
Nothing there. Oh God.
Nothing. We didn't see anything.
Well, if it had been a bear or a hog, you would think you would have seen it when you turned your light on.
Yeah, because you could see just a little ways into the woods. So I mean, whenever I turned my light on, you could probably see 20 feet or more into the woods off the road right there. And there wasn't anything there. Nothing that we could see anyhow.
Wow.
So, and I've had some other. I remember talking to another researcher who used to go out researching with a pretty well-known group in the South, and they were more in line, with the flesh and blood, and he experienced that with one of their guys one night. So he said they could hear something. And he said it was just almost identical. You could hear something really loud running through the brush, making all kinds of noise. And whenever it should have come out in the road, there wasn't anything there. Nothing that they could see.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of disturbing.
Yeah. If you've got something that could do that, it's, it doesn't take long to figure out you're way outclassed when you're out there in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's just part of the fun of going out and doing this stuff, that knowing that really you can't do much of anything to protect yourself. And
yeah. Whenever you think about those events that take place like that, you just stop and think about it. If they truly wanted to do you harm, they would have done it by now.
Yeah. And easily, and you wouldn't have seen it coming.
No. You'd be like one of the missing 411.
Yeah. You'd just be walking along, and all of a sudden, a rock the size of a football hits you in the head and tears your head off your body, and your body falls over.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. So it's that's what makes it fun. It's a. And I'm
waiting for that football-sized rock to come sailing toward you. That's the fun part.
That's the fun part. I've experienced some rock throwings. So.
Hopefully nothing that large and nothing directly at your head.
No. And fortunately, I've never come that close to getting hit. I do know somebody who came really close. They came closer than anybody I know that ever get hit by a rock. I mean, they were walking up the edge of a road and a rock landed in the ditch beside them. So
that's pretty close. I know when I had Tyler on, he had taken his girlfriend out to go to a Bigfoot place. The Bigfoot didn't like her or something, so they were up pitching rocks at both of them. Go away.
Yeah.
And they had gotten the hint, and they were starting to pack their stuff up and go away. And she abruptly turned and shifted position and walked right into a rock that hit her in the shoulder and broke her clavicle.
Ah, wow.
And then they stopped throwing any more rocks.
The game's over at that point. Somebody messed up.
Like, oh shit, we hurt one. Well, they're still trying to leave. Okay, quit throwing rocks.
Yeah, I've heard stories like that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you've been out there, have you heard that? I don't know. It's I don't know. I would describe it kind of like a 15 or 20 pound bowling ball being dropped from 20 feet. It just makes a big thud.
Yeah. When I was up in the Yak, we were walking up that one hillside, and we heard what impact vibration in the ground was. It was kind of like somebody dropped a car out of a tree, because when it hit the ground, you could feel the ground shake. And a really heavy, non-metallic thud. We judged it to be quite a ways up the hill in front of us, and we could still feel the ground shake and hear the thud. So it had to have been pretty heavy, whatever it was.
Yeah. I don't want to make something mad that can pick up 300-pound rocks and throw them.
Chuck them at you. Yeah, exactly. Well, she said, well, what's that? And I said, I don't know, but we should probably conclude picking mushrooms and go back down the hill now.
Yeah. It's probably a good time to go back to camp.
Yeah. Considering we just found a 16-inch track a little ways further down the trail that we were just coming up, maybe we should just go back down again.
Yeah. That'd be a good time, be a good decision to make. No doubt about it.
No, it turned out to be prudent. There was no further problems, and we didn't get mugged anything, so that was all. It was all good. And when we got down to the base of the hill, the other person that was with us, Grizz, who was very limited mobility, while he was wandering around at the base of the trail, was going up the hill and found yet another track. So when we got down there, immediately our attention was shifted on another track that he had found. We forgot all about whatever it was. It just leaped out of the tree up the hill above us and scared us.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's yeah. Those are always fun times.
Always good times. Well, it's not just Bigfoot tracks that you find in the woods. Sometimes you find canid tracks too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I sent you a picture of that. Is my youngest daughter and her fiance? They were out and they found that. Not I don't know, a while back. Not too long ago. But it's in the same area where we got the Dogman picture.
Wow.
Where we have the picture of the three-toed tracks. One is a Bigfoot, and the other is, I don't know exactly what it is. Looks like something. Had a researcher from Ohio tell me up exactly with what he has up there. So,
probably just a gugly.
Yeah, it could be. It's big.
Probably just a gugly. Nothing to worry about.
Probably. Yeah. The Gugway passing through the ground zero, that could have been the times whenever it's that was always interesting. Think about ground zero is there were times, I mean, it was so peaceful out there, just everything is just great. It's like being in your yard. And then there were other times when you were out there and it's man, the hair would just stand up on the back of your neck. It just
whole atmosphere is just creepy for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's just completely different. So yeah, we had a lot of experiences out there, and unfortunately, the trees have grown up now. So the good area that we had that was so good, it's kind of it's not quite as good as it used to be because of that. I guess it could turn good if we're dumb enough to walk out there where we can't see 10 feet in front of us. But
sure. Just turning into a jungle. Now it's easier for them to hide right along the trail where you're coming in to deliver the Snicker bars.
Yeah. That's
And I still got to see that video that you guys shot. I think William has it, where he found their exit trail with all the Snicker wrappers all over the place.
Yeah. That's something good. I mean, they still use that trail. It's a fire trail. Is what it was. It was what it was left for, and that was their trail. It goes
now. It's a Snicker trail.
Yeah, it goes out into an SMZ. And the creek goes along through there and up and down that creek. That's something I intended to go do this past winter, and I just never did get around to it. I wanted to walk in from the other end of ground zero and see what I could find up through there, because I found those trails before where you'll find say a tree bow, or you'll find this maybe 8, 10, 12 feet up in the air. You'll find the tunnel. I found a spot where there's a cane break there one time, and the canes were crossed, and then there was also another one that was bowed over and pinned down cane.
Huh. And
I remember I got past that spot right there, and I smelled something that smelled like the zoo. So that kind of made me a little bit uneasy there for a little while, because I wasn't sure just how close I was to something that I couldn't see. So.
Yeah, that would give you pause. You don't want to walk into some huge animal and you can't see a damn thing.
Right.
And yeah, that's where they usually like to hang out too, in thickets where you can't see them even when you're 5 feet from them.
Right. Yeah. So that's but that's interesting. It's whenever you get on those trails, I mean, what I have typically found here in Arkansas and a little bit in Oklahoma is that whenever you find something like that, keep going in that general direction, and you're normally going to find something with as close as 25 yards apart, and typically it'll be about 100 yards. It'll be the distance in between one marker to the next.
Right.
So you keep following that, and you'll keep leading on. But I found that in Arkansas and Oklahoma both. So.
Yeah, we followed the trail markers before too, where they're either doing a leaner or they're doing a snap, and it's pointing in a certain direction. You just go in that direction far enough and you'll find the next marker.
Yeah,
and then go in that direction far enough, you'll find the next marker. And then go a little bit further, and hey, there's a 50-foot tall teepee over here.
Yeah, or you get down into a spot that turns into an absolute thicket, and it's kind of like, I don't really know that I want to go in there.
A really creepy thicket.
Yeah,
With mysterious big tunnels like this plowed through it by something.
right. Yeah, yeah. I may be an uninvited guest that they would insist on me leaving.
Well, that's where I always pause to consider before I go into really thick areas. And, the one time I walked into that pine labyrinth and then looked at the video afterwards and had several of them in there just a few feet away from me watching me, panicked my bearded dragon. I had to take off and get out of there.
I still laugh every time I think about that video where the dragon with the ass on top of your head is
jumps on top of my head and digs his claws in. I'm like, okay, well, the dragon's not enjoying what's up in here. I think we have to leave now.
Yeah.
On later review, it was the 3 Bigfoot right next to us that he was reacting to.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that's always good. Pay attention to your animals, your bearded dragon or your dogs or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's why I like carrying him around with me, because he'll either be sitting on my shoulder facing backwards.
Yeah.
So I may not have a GoPro that I'm filming it with, but I got a live animal right here looking that direction.
Yeah.
So if there's anything back there moving around, he's going to be like, hey, hey, there's some huge thing right behind you. I don't know what this thing is.
You should move faster.
Yeah, you should probably get out of this area now. Oh, I'll just jump on top of your head. That'll get your attention.
Oh man, yeah, that's
derp.
That's funny, It's with dogs. I mean, pay attention to dogs. It's with the dogs I've had, whenever they would get really, really quiet and they just want to come back inside the house, that was always for me to pay attention.
Or when you're like standing there and they come crawling between your legs and they've got their tail tucked and then they start peeing on themselves.
Yeah,
that's a strong sign.
Yeah, and it's whenever they do that, almost a bark, but more of a whimper. That's usually a dog that knows that there's something big and bad out there.
And it really wants to bark, but figures if it does, it'll die. So it just kind of cuts it out halfway through and goes right into the whimper.
Yeah. It was funny. It was funny. I only had to tell her one time, let's go in the house. She beat me back to the
zoom right in the house. Yeah.
Oh, it's like, you coward! You gonna leave me after I'm home?
So, hey, you had a picture of, I know it's from a long, long ways away, but potentially multiple Bigfoot sitting on a hillside.
Yeah. That's close to the Albert Pack area for anyone interested in where that may be. Or the, once again, I mean, that's, I think that actually is part of the National Forest there. My sister has a place close to that area where she has that for a view from her backyard. So she has a beautiful, beautiful spot. And I always like to take pictures there. And I keep thinking one of these winters I'm going to walk up there and make the journey up there. But so far I haven't. But I keep taking pictures of it every time I go, just because. And on that time, I've taken multiple pictures of it. But on that particular one, it looks like there's one that's squatted down. And I know, I believe you showed it to Blaine and Christy and maybe others.
Blaine and Christy both took a look at it. They not only went red hula hoop, one right here, but they had more hula hoops. And the hula hoops on both their pictures kind of agreed with each other.
Right.
So they were seeing several somethings sitting there. And those guys are, Christy and Blaine are extremely sharp-eyed with spotting that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're both really good at it. And it's I know some other researchers that were up in that area in the late 90s, and they did vocals, and they had some answer them, they never did comment on them. But they did get answers from up there in pretty much that spot. And I remember in 2007, I was just south of that spot, probably 4 or 5 miles south of there, and I had got to work really early and did what I needed to do, and I was waiting on daylight, so I just laid down and take a nap in the truck and blocked the road so my coworkers couldn't go in past me. Yeah, they'd have to wake me up, and so we'd go to work. And something shook my truck. I don't know, about 5:30 or a little after. This was in August, and I got out of the truck expecting to see them, and there wasn't anybody there. So that was a head scratcher for me, because that was with the Bigfoot subject at that time in 2007. I was, I was really interested in the subject. I just didn't have any experience.
So you weren't near like any fault lines or anything either.
No, not there. not there.
No small earthquakes.
Yeah, yeah. That would be closer to Lake Greason.
You think I'm joking, but up here in the mountains, that's reported quite a bit. Where they think it's like, what the hell's going on? Is there a little earthquake going on or something? And it's like, no, there's no earthquake going on.
No.
Something really big just walked past your tent. That's what's going on.
Yeah. Really big. Going to make sure you're paying attention.
Yeah. He's being quiet, but he's still basically making the ground shake when he puts his foot down, because excessively gigantic weight.
Yeah, that's the one thing that probably gives me chills is the times, we've been out just sitting in the truck in the dark listening. He would do a few calls and stuff, and I remember one night we were sitting on the road. I mean, we had the windows down. It's the reason why we call it the dark woods is because there's no light pollution in that area. It's far enough away from any town that there's nothing to give any light if the moon's not up. So it gets really, really dark. And I don't know if one of them stomped their foot or what they did. It was on my side of the truck. I was ready to go after that. There was no vocal.
All done.
Yeah. It's kind of, hey, I need to get up for work tomorrow, man. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I had enough fun for one night.
Yeah.
Must be time to go home now.
We just listened to this owl, just down the road a little ways, make the exact same call for 25 times in a row.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they didn't have a trill on any of them. So
yeah, a very, very large owl, very large sounding bionic size owl.
Yeah, that's something right there. The bionic bird, that's something we've also experienced. Was man, that's kind of a crazy experience too. I mean, whenever they make that bionic owl call, whatever exactly it is they're doing, I mean, that thing, it made a straight line toward us and stopped behind a big oak tree, and what I could see with an eye behind that big oak tree. And I couldn't get my phone up in time to try to get a picture or video or anything of it. I mean, it happened quick.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's a lot of spots in public areas that probably overlooked, and don't be surprised if you couldn't get some activity there,
Right. Yep, you never know where you're going to get activity until you go there for yourself and check it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you find places where you're like, there's no way in hell Bigfoot's here. And you spend one night there and you're like, holy crap, they're all over the place.
Yeah. So you think a family reunion or something.
Yeah. And then you're all curious and you're like looking at topo maps and trying to figure out where everything is around the area. And how are they even here? Where were they going to? They can't be just hanging around here, sometimes.
It's and a lot of times it makes you wonder, if you were there on the right night whenever they were passing through the area, that's making their circuit in their territory or something.
Yeah.
So, which is what I believe that a lot of them do. They have a particular area that's probably their territory, and they move through it. It's not necessarily a migration. It's just they just moving around.
I know they had a wayside rest here in Montana that's now been decommissioned for some weird reason. But it was actually, truckers would use it a lot, and you'd just get right off the freeway, and there's a little area below the freeway there, and it had a whole bunch of woods and stuff in it, and kind of a wetland, and a little river that came down and fed into the area, and the truck stop was right next to it, and it's not like, little rivers and wetlands attract Bigfoot or anything. So apparently there were so many sightings there that they actually decommissioned the place. They closed it off. They don't let people go there anymore.
Oh man.
And I heard of two of them, myself. They were both on different shows, right? And one of them was just some truckers that were going through, and they had a tag team trucking operation. They were both tired, so they pulled over there, and they were going to take a little break, and they weren't even there for like an hour. And there was all kinds of racket going on, the calls and stuff, and scared the hell out of them. So they just took off again.
So they had the adrenaline dump that they needed to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, now I can drive for another 100 miles, no problem. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I laugh at myself sometimes. I'll get my nerve built up to where I'll go out, at night and kind of venture out. And, man, it never seems to fail. Every time I get my nerve built up, there'll be something that'll take it back away from me.
Yeah, they're good about doing that. Yeah, don't you hate that when you're walking through the woods by yourself and off in the distance, somewhere off in the trees where you can't really see it in the dark, you hear Bigfoot coming, going to get you, oh, Bigfoot coming.
Now when Christy's clan hears that, I want to know if they sing the song. So.
Yeah, they know how to sing that one. So if you guys ever hear that, it's Christy's buddies trying to scare you.
Oh man,
that's just some humans trying to scare us. You're listening to how loud that voice is.
Yeah.
No, it's not humans trying to scare you. So anyway, all joking aside, did you have any other pictures or anything that we failed to mention yet?
Yeah, I did send you one picture of my pond where I've got some in there. They're on the pond bank from a few years.
Oh, right on.
And sent you another one there where it's the broken tree. There's a fresh tree snap blocking the 4-wheeler trail from, man, I don't even know how many years ago that was. Me and my son, we were riding the 4-wheeler. He was 4 or 5 years old, I think, at the time. And a tree blocking the trail. So I took a picture of the broken tree, and it wasn't until later on because he got so spooked up and ready to get out of there. At that time, I carried my pistol in a hard case on the front rack of the 4-wheeler under a tarp strap. And while I was walking around looking at the tree, he kept telling me, "Come on, Dad, let's go." And I really didn't pay any attention to him the first 2 or 3 times he said it. And then I finally turned around and looked at him. I saw he was holding it up to his chest and said, "Come on, Dad, let's go. Let's go." Like, okay. Wow. Okay, we're leaving now. And in that picture, if you look between the trees, I think you may see something there. So, I think you may see a couple of somethings there.
We'll have to take a look at those couple of somethings. Well, we're looking at them right now, so there you go. You guys make your decision.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the backstory on that picture. So yeah, I think I sent you the picture of the track found in the driveway, and got my wife's foot there beside it. For a comparison, is toe impressions of what we were able to see. But that's her foot there beside it. Just to give an idea of how big it is.
When did you find that one then?
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. That's
yeah. And but like in your driveway though.
In my driveway, yeah.
Okay.
In my driveway, like 40 steps from my house.
Hopefully sometime soon when we can figure out this nightmarish recording issue here, I can get Keith Crabtree on, because he's been pending to be on for a while.
Yeah.
And he's got a whole bunch of juvenile tracks like 15, 20 feet from the back door of his house in his driveway, right, where apparently they were all running around playing one night.
Yeah, it's, here it's not surprising to me. I've had multiple sightings here from my yard. They come up the edge of the tree line, the pond dam, all that stuff. I remember one winter. Evidently, they were having a good winter with the deer, and I wound up with a bunch of broken deer legs in my yard. Not cut.
Ooh.
Not cut. They were all broke off.
Broken. Yeah.
Broken.
Like the one I showed in Sunday's show.
Yeah. Broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. Wile E. Coyote's not doing that. So. And so it's we've got a dog that stays in the yard. We call her Seven because she was the seventh pup and the only one that survived.
Lucky numbers have.
Yeah. So I guess Seven has made friends with them. So that was my guess on it.
Could be. I know the video I was showing on Sunday, we had Jeff with us, and at one point I mentioned he was trying to find Hank. Well, that's his dog. And practically every time we went up there and we had Hank with us, he would disappear for like 10, 15, 20 minutes. No matter how much Jeff yelled for him, he didn't come back. And finally he'd come back. And guess what he had in his mouth just about every single time? Some old, rotting, broken off deer leg. Who was giving him these things?
Yeah. We'll give you one guess because we think it's okay.
Yeah. Don't bark at us. Go away. Here's a deer leg. Okay, I'm your friend. Wagging his tail.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, and I always used to call him out on it, too. I'm like, you damn traitor dog. You were just over there mooching off the Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not as uncommon as what you might think. I know a guy in Oklahoma. He used to do that. Him and his brother, they would hunt, and they would throw, deer bones and deer legs and stuff in the dog pen. And he said he got to counting them one day. He said he had more deer bones, he had more deer legs in the pen than what he put in there.
Hey, where'd those extras come from? Somebody else did some basic observation and said, oh, he likes deer legs.
Yeah.
A couple of deer legs. He won't bark when I come up here and sneak around.
Right. Yeah. They shut up and get quiet when you give them a deer leg. Hey, let's try that.
They wag their tail and go, okay, I'm not barking at you.
Yeah.
Go about your business.
Oh yeah. It seems to be a that works.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's worked with quite a few of them. I mean, I've heard it from several other people where the doggies that were really aggressive, some bad thing happens to them, and the dog that kind of tends to just ignore the Bigfoot seems to be the one that's long-lived.
Yeah.
And doesn't have any problems, really. Because he's probably a traitor and they already bribed him somehow.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. That kind of activity, it's not quite as common now as it used to be there at one time, but it's, there at one time, I mean, it's finding tracks in the yard and deer bones. Of course, I know William, he showed the handprint on the car there one time in the carport, on the hood of the car one time.
Oh, Lord.
One of your shows there. It's quite a few years ago. I had a deer disappear out of an ice chest one time from the carport. So,
yeah, I remember we referenced that on one of your previous visits.
Yeah, so it's, but as far as hurt, that's not it. I still get what did I record? I recorded something. I'm still not exactly sure what it was I recorded. I think I sent that to you a while back. And I remember there one night I was talking to you on the phone, and I had that, I don't know, it's kind of a skunky type smell, it.
Yeah.
I caught a whiff of it there for a little bit, and then it just disappeared. So there's still some things, that are happening. I'm just not getting to lay my eyes on them. Maybe, I don't know, maybe my eyes just aren't as good as they used to be. So, and they could be as well. So.
Well, they're good at hiding too, so don't forget about that part of it.
Yeah. No doubt
they like to sneak right up and count coup on you without you even knowing that they're there and they just touched you.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if they're using their paranormal powers to do that, I call cheating. You're cheaters. You're dirty, dirty cheaters. Quit it.
Mm. Yeah, that's.
Anyway.
I don't know. I think the only other thing I may have sent you might have been a picture of an owl, a couple of shots of an owl, and then a picture of a hawk. I couldn't believe it stayed still on the limb for a while.
The hog was on a limb?
Or the hawk. I'm sorry.
Oh, hawk. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I also did send you there's a footprint. It's up around Clarksville, Arkansas, up there in the National Forest. So, I don't know. It's interesting to me. There's splayed toes on it, it looks like. And it's a pretty clear impression in the rock. So,
yeah, important part there, in the rock.
In the rock. So,
yeah. Which reminds me of a live stream that Kevin Lang did while he was still with us and had a channel, and him and MTG were running around out in the woods. And there was this really steep, I mean like straight up and down channel where there's usually some kind of a little creek flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about 5 or 6 feet deep, and the base of the creek was completely washed away, so it was all stone. And since there was no water in it, they were just walking down this thing. And there was a huge, looked like a Bigfoot track in the frickin' stone at the bottom of this dry creek.
Yeah.
And he's got that on his videos. If you guys want to go look for it, you can find it.
Yeah, I think the other thing I sent you was the tree that's down there around Falk, where this tree we walked in. It's around Thornton's Wells is where it's at. This is where it was anyway. I don't know. It may have rotted down and fell by now. But yeah, that thing. It's there's one researcher in the picture, Shelley, and we looked around to see where that thing may have been come out of the ground at, and we never could find a stump hole for it. So,
wow.
So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah. Yeah, and other stuff along with the sticks. I did send you another picture. You know, you were talking the other night about a tree about 10 feet up. Well, I've got one there.
Right.
That's over around the closer to the diamond mine is where that's actually from. Then the other pictures, you know, the little pine trees broke over and brought back around and still growing, still living. So,
wow.
So
that's how they make some of those marker trees. You know what they used to call the old Indian trail marker trees,
yeah.
Where they'd snap them and then they'd regrow with this weird bend in them.
Yeah.
And they'd use those for trail markers.
Right. Yeah, and then I sent you another picture of a track we found in the middle of a gravel road. It was down there south of Falk, is where that was.
Yeah. How big's that one? Do you have a tape measure on it? I can't remember.
I think it's a little over 14 inches. But
good sized track.
Yeah. It's
about like patty size.
Right.
For anybody that's getting too used to gigantic sized tracks, remember, Patty left a 15-inch track.
Yeah.
And she was plenty big.
I guarantee you she's plenty big. She's a big old gal.
7-ish feet and 500-ish pounds. And
yeah.
She's your 15-inch foot. Yep.
Yeah. And I think the other photo I sent you was a cow skull.
Oh, yeah, that was that cow skull lying out in the middle of frickin' nowhere. No other bones around it.
Yeah.
How the hell did it get there?
Yeah. Did we have this really... we have a coyote or something that felt really, really good that day and decided to carry the cow skull way off out in the woods in the middle of nowhere. So,
yeah, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Seems a little mysterious to me.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was interesting, you know. So I like to take pictures of just some random odd stuff, you know. I get more of those than I do Bigfoot, so.
Well, like I tell all my, any of the guys that just start out with me and they want to go do Bigfoot stuff, the first thing I always tell them is just look for anything anomalous. Yeah. Anything that doesn't look like it shouldn't be there, take a closer look at it. trees that are ripped out of the ground and are hanging somehow 30 feet up in the air on some other trees. That's not normal. Those are the kind of things you can look for. There might be tip-offs. Trees ripped out of the ground and shoved point first down back into the ground again. No, windstorms don't do that. That's not normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of tornado damage in my life, and I've never run across that. So,
No way.
mm.
I know they had the island up there where they sent Chook out to go film the upside down trees there in Alaska. And he said, they're actually still trying to say that a big storm caused this at some point.
Yeah.
And everybody in the chat room just about fell over laughing. And somebody posted a comment, I'm on the East Coast. We get hit by hurricanes a lot. And you know what? Somebody said, hey, a hurricane did this. Never.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. I mean, it's straight line winds. All the trees are blown down the same direction. If it's a tornado, well, the tornado is making a circle, so the trees make a circle. It's
Sometimes they don't even come out of the ground. It just twists them like a wet rag.
Oh yeah.
I've seen it. And cyclonic winds, you can do all kinds of weird things with that. You can put a piece of straw right through a telephone pole if you got enough air pressure in it. There's examples of that. There's pictures of it. So I'm not making that up.
Right.
But again, none of that stuff, and I lived in Tornado Alley, is going to rip out a tree that big around and pick it up in the air and turn it right on its point and drive it in so it just stands there. Ain't happening. Sorry. All the wishful thinking in the universe isn't making that real.
No, it's not.
It's hilariously laughable that you would think people would fall for a ridiculous explanation like that. But good for you for being creative.
Yeah. I guess you're trying.
You're at least trying to cover your butt.
Yeah.
Where there's no chance of it.
Oh man. Yeah, it's some of the things they come up with. It's laughable. It's
it's very entertaining when they come up with an explanation that's ridiculously more far-fetched than Bigfoot did it, because they don't want to default to Bigfoot did it.
Right. Yeah. There's no doubt. I mean, if there was any kind of anybody who was taking it serious, sooner. As we talked about earlier, there are plenty of people who could point them in the right direction to go start finding evidence.
Yeah. Some of them will take you right to the evidence. They'll follow the tracks right to the evidence and go, see right there?
Yep. You see
that big fuzzy thing? It's about 12 feet tall right over there?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be the file that they would burn.
Yeah, exactly. They'd immediately be like, I didn't see anything. I had a temporary insanity problem. It was all a hallucination. I made track casts. Shut up. No, you didn't.
Yeah. It was bad coffee that day.
Yeah, I made track casts of your hallucination. No, you didn't. Shut up. All right. Well, enough picking on skeptards, I guess. So, pretty much got her covered, I think.
Yeah, I believe we do. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I'm glad we.
Alrighty.
Glad we got it done.
All fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Cross your fingers, cross your toes, cross your eyes, cross your nose.
Yeah.
Hopefully this one worked after umpteen tries, and
yeah,
it's still not recording properly. So you guys will see that Steven is totally hogging the screen on this one. I'm hiding down in the corner, and there's nothing I can do about the way it's laying this out. So don't even complain about it.
Yeah. Sorry. Show more pictures. Show more pictures and stuff.
Show more pictures.
Yeah. Show more pictures and videos, Sushi, while we're talking.
Yeah, exactly. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for being here, and we'll be back next week if I can figure out how to do it, hopefully with Gary Wayne.
Yeah.
Who hasn't been on the show for quite a while, and it's going to be really cool. He already said he wants to talk about the different Nephilim tribes in the Levant
Yes.
back in the olden days, and then also the some of the stuff from his latest second edition of the Genesis 6
Yeah.
conspiracy.
Yeah, I know. I know he'll be talking about the Amorites and Zoomies and all the other ones. Tall as the trees.
Yep, tall as the cedars of Lebanon,
Yep.
which weren't like little sticks or anything. They were pretty big. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, it's
big dudes. So anyway, hit that like button, subscribe. Make sure if you're not watching the show when it's on live, leave a comment. That really helps a lot for the algorithms to push the show so other people will get it suggested to them, and we will keep the channel growing, keep the lights on, and keep me having enough ka-ching, ching, ching that I can actually keep doing these shows for you. So obviously that's a needful thing. Stephen, any last words?
I've enjoyed it, Duke. I really have. I'm glad we're still able to have the freedom to do these kind of things.
Yep, hopefully this one actually worked too. So in the meantime, everybody knows what to do. Don't shine bright lights in Bigfoot's face in the dark. Don't flip off mountain giants. Don't hug Wookiees. Don't hug Wookiees.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, bad idea.
Everyone, safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the puckwudgie. And for God's sake, whatever you do not hug the Wookiee.